Welcome to News Nexus, where we dive deep into global stories that shape the world today. In this episode, we're taking you on a journey through one of the most ambitious financial experiments ever, the creation of the euro. From its origins in the aftermath of two world wars to its current status as the second most traded currency in the world, the euro's history is full of triumphs, struggles, and incredible twists. So let's explore how Europe engineered its very own currency revolution. Chapter 1. Europe before the euro, a fragmented currency world. Let's start by setting the stage. Before the euro, Europe was a continent of currencies. In fact, the entire European landscape was dominated by a patchwork of national currencies, each reflecting not just economic conditions, but centuries of national identity. There was the German Deutsche Mark, the French franc, the Italian lira, the British pound, and so on. Every border crossing in Europe meant changing money. And this fragmentation was not just inconvenient for travelers, it was economically inefficient. Imagine a businessman in France trying to trade with someone in Spain, only to be hit with constant currency fluctuations, fees, and unpredictable exchange rates. These fragmented currencies were like walls between nations, making it harder for businesses to grow and for European economies to become truly integrated. And as the world moved into the post-World War II era, this fragmentation was a reminder of the past. A past marked by wars, national rivalries, and economic instability. Chapter 2. The birth of the European Economic Community, EEC. Now, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. After World War II, European leaders recognized the need for economic cooperation to prevent future conflicts. The idea was simple. If nations were economically tied to each other, they wouldn't go to war. This vision of peace through economic integration became the foundation of what we know today as the European Union. In 1957, the Treaty of Rome was signed, which established the European Economic Community, EEC, a market designed to promote free trade among its members. But while the Treaty of Rome was a major step in building a unified Europe, it didn't immediately lead to the creation of a common currency. That would come later. For now, the focus was on creating a common market, breaking down barriers for the free movement of goods, services, people, and capital. This was the start of a long journey, but a common currency? That was still a dream on the horizon. Chapter 3. The 1970s. The currency snake and early experiments. The 1970s were a turbulent time. The world was dealing with an oil crisis, rising inflation, and the collapse of the Bretton Woods system, the international monetary system that had pegged most currencies to the US dollar. With all of this economic chaos, Europe had to figure out a way to stabilize its economies and reduce exchange rate volatility. Enter the European currency snake, a precursor to the euro. The idea was to limit how much European currencies could fluctuate against each other. Countries agreed to keep their exchange rates within narrow bands, helping to promote stability and ease trade. But the reality was far more complicated. The snake suffered from the same instability it was meant to prevent. Currencies continued to devalue, and many countries would leave the snake and rejoin over the years. The currency snake, though a noble experiment, revealed a critical lesson. Without a shared monetary policy, European countries would never have the economic stability they needed to thrive together. The currency system was, in essence, broken. Chapter 4. The Maastricht Treaty, a blueprint for the euro. By the early 1990s, it was clear that Europe needed something more than just a currency stabilization program. It needed a unified currency that could link the economies of all its member states. This is where the Maastricht Treaty comes into play. Signed in 1992, the Maastricht Treaty transformed the European Economic Community into the European Union and set out the formal blueprint for the introduction of the euro. But this wasn't a free pass for anyone to join the Eurozone. Nations had to meet strict criteria to qualify. Inflation rates, budget deficits, government debt, and exchange rate stability all had to be in line with the standards set by the European Union. The Maastricht Treaty also created the European Central Bank, ECB, which would later be tasked with managing the euro and controlling monetary policy across the entire Eurozone. This was a game changer. Europe was no longer relying on individual central banks with different priorities. There would be one monetary authority overseeing the entire currency. This was a bold move, one that came with a lot of risk. Chapter 5. The euro's birth, from digital to physical. Fast forward to January 1st, 1999. Back then when the euro officially became the single currency for 11 European nations. But this wasn't the euro we see today. Not yet. The currency was introduced in digital form, used for banking transactions, financial markets, and electronic payments. But it wasn't until January 1st, 2002, that euro coins and banknotes were introduced, marking a monumental shift in European economics. For the first time, people in 12 European countries exchanged their national currencies for the euro. The French franc, the German Deutsche Mark, the Spanish peseta, all gone. The euro replaced them. It was the largest currency switch in history, and millions of people across Europe found themselves holding new coins and notes with unfamiliar designs. But here's the catch. The transition wasn't easy. Some countries, like the UK and Denmark, chose to opt out of the euro, deciding they didn't want to lose control over their own currencies. These countries would continue to use their national money despite being part of the European Union. This move would prove to be significant in the years that followed. Chapter 6. The Eurozone. Economic integration and challenges. In the years following the euro's introduction, things looked promising. The Eurozone nations experienced greater economic integration. Businesses no longer had to worry about currency exchange fees and fluctuating rates. Cross-border transactions became simpler, and prices across the region became more transparent. But there was a major flaw in the design. The Eurozone lacked fiscal integration. While the European Central Bank controlled monetary policy, countries still controlled their own budgets. This created tension. Countries like Germany, with a strong economy, could easily manage the euro, but others, like Greece, were already struggling with debt before they even adopted the new currency. This mismatch between strong and weak economies would come back to haunt the Eurozone. Chapter 7. The 2008 Financial Crisis. A major test for the euro. The true test of the euro came during the 2008 financial crisis. When the global economy collapsed, countries within the Eurozone found themselves in deep financial trouble. Nations like Greece, Ireland, and Spain were hit hardest. The problem? These countries couldn't devalue their currency or adjust their monetary policies because they were bound to the euro. The lack of a centralized fiscal authority meant that the European Central Bank could not step in directly to help struggling countries. Instead, a series of bailouts from the European Union and the International Monetary Fund followed, accompanied by austerity measures that led to widespread protests and political instability. The debt crisis raised serious questions about the future of the euro. Should economically weaker countries like Greece stay in the Eurozone? Or should they leave and regain control of their national currency? The debate over the Eurozone's future became heated, and the crisis underscored the risks involved in having a common currency without a common fiscal policy. Chapter 8. The Euro Today. Successes and ongoing challenges. Fast forward to today, and the euro has become the second most widely traded currency in the world, right behind the US dollar. Over 340 million people use the euro across 20 European countries. The currency is a symbol of Europe's economic power and ambition. But despite its success, the Eurozone still faces ongoing challenges. The lack of fiscal integration means that some countries, particularly those with weak economies, continue to struggle. The rise of nationalism in Europe also presents a challenge. Some political leaders have openly criticized the euro and called for countries to abandon it. Will the euro continue to hold Europe together? Or will it eventually break apart under the weight of its contradictions? Chapter 9. The Future of the Euro. A currency for the 21st century. Looking ahead, the euro's future is uncertain. It's become a symbol of Europe's economic strength, but it's also a constant reminder of the challenges that lie ahead. As Europe faces new economic pressures, such as rising debt levels, global competition, and the rise of digital currencies, the euro will have to evolve. Could the Eurozone face another crisis? Will the currency survive the rise of new financial technologies, such as cryptocurrencies and digital payments? One thing is certain, the euro is not just a currency. It's an experiment, an ambitious attempt to create a unified economic space where nations can share a common future. The euro has undergone an incredible journey. It's gone from a vision in the aftermath of war to a complex, multifaceted currency that powers the global economy. The road has been rocky, marked by political struggles, economic crises, and moments of uncertainty. But the euro is still standing strong today, and its future, though uncertain, continues to captivate the world. This has been the hidden history of the euro. If you found this deep dive fascinating, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more stories about the forces that shape our world. Stay tuned to News Nexus for more insightful content, and as always, thank you for watching.